It's the 2015 premier Six Flags Purchase Exposition, commemorating 17 years since stability and better theming has left the company. Otherwise known as Six Flags Over Mid-America. Otherwise known as Six Flags St. Louis. Otherwise known as A Mediocre Day. It's the third and final original Six Flags park. And what a doozy! Some may say that, like your irresponsible uncle at a barbecue, Six Flags had one too many. But this reporter says, third time's the charm. There's great thrills, such as Mr. Freeze and Ninja. The stars of extreme sports have come out. In Tony, but there's Evil no. Well, never mind. River King Mine Train is a blast, right, Big Thunder? Recently, this park has been invaded by the Justice League, and thankfully, the Joker has stepped in to save the day. In Joker League, an all-new dark ride adventure, guests get to step into the action in a way never before experienced. Amazing, Spider-Man. This has been Franklin Fordrick, introducing those coaster-made punks themselves, Be Cool and Ruza.
Next up, in the greater Chicago loop, St. Louis. Meet me in St. Louis.
So number three on the old Six Flags original chain.
Number last.
So now that we have seen all of the original Six Flags built Six Flags parks, it was interesting to go back to St. Louis because that was the first original park that we saw.
Yes, the original trilogy. We did them in reverse order.
Yeah,
of how they were
funny.
built. We did St. Louis first, then over Georgia, and then over Texas.
And Six Flags definitely cut the budget with each park, or at least did not go as grand each time. So Six Flags Over Texas is the most impressive overall in terms of theme and walk-up. And then Georgia has that, not sure what that is, going on with the entrance. It's like building facades. And then we get to St. Louis, and the walk-up is really bare bones. There's not even a big entry sign that says Six Flags Over Mid-America or Six Flags St. Louis. It's just ticket booths. Parking lot, and then you got your couple of flags, and then the ticket booths.
Yeah, there's a little fountain, the flagpoles, and then, yeah, just ticket booths and turnstiles. Not even built up very much.
No, it's very minimal.
Yeah, the park lacks a true sign besides the road sign, the sign that's on the highway, way outside of the parking lot.
And even that is, it's funny, they never even updated that to be an electronic sign.
Yeah, I guess not.
It's just a plain billboard kind of thing.
It's the least impressive of the three. It's kind of okay when you get inside the gate.
Yeah.
It's okay, it's fine. But even around the park, it's like they didn't put as much into it.
Man, I wonder why.
Yeah, and it seems, because I don't even know how much over Texas and over Georgia was added later, how much they went back and made it better. I do remember seeing some pictures of over Texas opening year, and it was pretty bare bones. The original entry plaza didn't have too much in it, but at least within the first decade or so of those parks, they went back in and continued to add and build them up. Well, in the case of over Texas, it looks really beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
As we've touched on the show, and then over Georgia is definitely a step down from that already, and then over Mid-America is another step down.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, when you actually get beyond the turnstile, the buildings that they have in front of you, they're nice, they're fine. It actually reminds me of Lake Compounce, when you first walk into Lake Compounce, where it's like you have the row of buildings right in front of you, and you have to go either left or right.
Yeah, you walk in, you hit a wall, and you immediately have to go left or right. And in the case of St. Louis, it seems that the numbers never really came. I don't think it does as well as the other two original Six Flags parks, and even within the chain as a whole now. And I think that has a lot to do with why they don't give that park they don't put a ton of money into it. They put a ride in here and there, but they don't give it nearly as many as a lot of the rest of the chain. And they changed it up on this one. The third time, they didn't do that same with the parking lot entrance. Runs right past the park entrance, and the ticket booths.
Yeah.
The parking lot booths are right there, and then the parking lot's off to the side. This time they did the parking lot right out front. Interesting to note. So inside the park, let's talk about what they got, or specifically what they've put in the last. Well, since we've been there, let's look at it that way. We were there in 2008, so that was 7 years ago, and our first time back was just a couple of weeks ago. We just missed what at the time was called Evel Knievel.
Well, they liked doing that back then. They had Evel Knievel and they had Tony Hawk.
Yes, that was Shapiro era, where one of the things they thought they'd do was just brand everything.
Yeah.
As if that would make it better. It didn't. So in the end, they cut those contracts. The second Shapiro was out of there, and the ride became American Thunder, which is not a terrible name.
No, it's fine.
I don't mind it. It's amusing that there's that stunt ramp, like
Yeah.
a motorcycle ramp for a stunt jump as the sign out front, but it's been called American Thunder for quite a while. So we just missed it back in 2008. We went earlier in the season. It was June, first week of June, and it's taken us all of this many years to get back there. It's a smaller scale GCI Woody, and I was a little bit excited going in because, well, really both of us like the former Terminator Salvation, now called Apocalypse, at Magic Mountain. And we're both huge fans of that ride, a ride that doesn't really get talked about much. I guess we'll have to do that at some point, because it's really a kick-ass little ride. And this Evel Knievel, American Thunder, came out right around the same, within a year.
Terminator opened 1 year later, 2009.
Okay, so this is 1 year before. So close. And so I thought there's a chance it could be kind of a sister ride. This was a very brief period, just these two coasters where Six Flags went back to GCI, and the GCI put in or made a couple of smaller scale rides for them. So I was excited. I thought this could be good. I thought it could be great even, actually. Although I hadn't really ever heard anything about it. That doesn't always mean anything.
No.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, that's why we do this now. We go against the grain anyway. So oftentimes the things I hear about, when I finally get to them, I'm disappointed. And it's the things I never hear about that I get on, and I'm like, why isn't anyone talking about this? This is fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So it happens to us all the time. So I was excited, and we did it. Finally got on it. And I don't know what happened.
First ride, we thought it was just okay, not great. But then we went back and we did it again at night, and I really dug it. I thought it was a cool ride. I don't know if it was just the nighttime really helped it out, or what. Just happened to get a better ride.
Yeah, it really came alive at night. I don't know what it was.
It really whips through the course pretty quick.
Yeah, it's approaching Apocalypse. It's not there.
Yeah.
It's not there. It's not as good as that one, but it's approaching that. It's very good. It's so good that I know as we were walking off it that second time, I was saying, really, every Six Flags park should have one of these.
Oh yeah, I remember you said that.
Yes, it's now with the Rocky Mountains. Those are awesome, but I don't care what the track is made out of. They don't ride like a real wood coaster anyway. So it's kind of like its own thing. It's kind of like its own experience. I mean, they're not making mega loopers out of them with 7 inversions, but you get like 2 or 3 on each ride. It's like this new other category of coaster they've created now. This sort of airtime inversion hybrid thing. It's part thrilling you with inversions, but it's a lot in thrilling you with airtime, doing both kind of on one ride. So at any rate, I feel that's kind of like that's a great thing to have, but I don't want to see only those. And I think if you're gonna keep wood, I like these GCI rides. At least those couple they made 2008, 2009 for Six Flags, where they did a really great job.
Yeah, GCI. I don't know. I'm kind of split on them, where most of the rides are just like the same ride. But yeah, but Apocalypse is one of my favorites, one of my favorite wood, and Thunderhead is very good, and this American Thunder is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then
but it's like most of everything else.
Well, we got to give Lightning Racer honorable mention.
Oh yeah, I always forget about Lightning Racer.
I know it's very forgettable for us at least, but it is actually pretty good.
It is.
No, that's another standout in their line.
Yeah, I'll give them that. The Lightning side in particular, if I remember correctly, of Lightning Racer, I remember liking better.
Most of the rest of the ones they've ever done, though, kind of just blend together. I just hope they don't go away. I hope that Rocky Mountain doesn't kill them. Because I think there's still a place for actual, really traditional wood style coaster. We're not going for inversions, and you're not doing the other stuff that Rocky's doing. And I'd like to see GCI survive.
Yeah, it would be good.
So the other new attraction for us this visit at Six Flags St. Louis was one very extremely anticipated attraction by us. We were very pleased. We just made it. I think we figured it out. Day 4 of operation of this attraction is the day we were there. I'm talking about Justice League Battle for Metropolis. Wow. That's the first thing I have to say. Is wow. I was both pleased and surprised. I thoroughly enjoyed the ride. It was pretty great.
Yeah, I liked it a hell of a lot. Lot of fun. Very, very impressive. I guess, well, before we really get into this ride, we should say spoilers.
We should say that,
if you have not ridden Justice League at St. Louis or over Texas, because we're assuming it's the same ride in over Texas, we'll look in the description and let you know what time code to jump ahead to.
This ride took over the space formerly occupied by Scooby-Doo and the mysterious swamp gas, or something like that. Which took over the space previously occupied by Injun Joe's Cave. And there may have been some things in between. I don't even know.
That ride went through a couple of different variations, but always a dark ride in that.
Yeah, that was
spot.
All 3 original Six Flags parks had a dark ride. They were all an Arrow boat system. This is the first of those to be torn out. They totally gutted the building and created a whole new ride experience. Outdoor queue was the same. It's all stripped of all the theme it had. Now it's just strolling through a garden. Although it's supposed to be Metropolis Park.
Oh, it's supposed to be like
something park.
Centennial Park.
Centennial Park. Yeah, something like that.
I thought it was Central Park when I first saw it.
That's right. Yeah, and you saw the sign, you're like, what's it, Central Park?
Yeah.
And then it's a short queue, and then outside anyway, and then you're in the building where there's a lot more queue. They do hide the line.
Yeah,
if this means anything to you, to any of you out
do.
there, just be warned. They hide the line on this one. So when you get in the building, there's 2 rooms. The first room is very apparent because you can see it. Even if before you get on the line, you could duck your head quickly in and see it. But then there's a second room they totally hide, and it's slow moving.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a nasty wait, really. It really speaks to how good the ride was. As that being the only reason why I think the wait didn't get us down.
Yeah,
because
it
we
didn't.
enjoyed the attraction so thoroughly that we were fine waiting for it each time.
Yeah.
And I said because we did do it multiple times, and we did wait every time. So they do a little Universal, one of the Universal tricks, hide the line inside, very devious.
Yeah, Universal
One lady behind
loves
us
to do that.
got really annoyed.
Yeah,
the
she
first
was not
time,
happy.
We didn't even know at that time because it was the first time he did it. The total extent of the queue. There could have been a third room hidden for all we know at that point. We had no idea yet. And yeah, we looked around and I was just like, I think she just said, "Oh shit." I mean, I said it kind of loud, and she heard, and she's like, "Oh shit, what?" And she's like a young kid too, which is funny. And then she ducked her head around. And I was like, "There's a lot of." She's like, "There's like what? There's a lot of people there?" And I was like, "Yeah, there's a lot of people there." And then she looked around and she's like, "Oh." So anyway, I took over that building. There, inside the building, there's no remnants of the old ride at all. They definitely totally gutted it.
Yeah.
I don't know, queue, they did just an okay job. They did a Six Flags job in the queue.
They did.
Let's be honest. I mean, they didn't. The queue isn't anything impressive. It smelled like a Home Depot. We should mention that. I guess because the ride was so fresh.
They
Like,
just finished.
You still
building
smelled like the smell of fresh lumber and sheetrock. But it was kind of bare bones. I mean, it was just some strips of wood and just a lot of drywall and just a few banners.
it. Right.
Just some cheap rope lights that you can buy in like Target, and one really cheap looking rotating light, like like a light that usually goes along with sirens on the top of a police car or something. Those kind of, but it was like a cheap LED one that looked like something from Spencer Gifts that you could just buy. Every 15-year-old has them in their bedroom or something. It's like one of those. So even those look like they just at the last minute they realized it was a little bare. And they just like sent someone out to Target to get them really quick and come back, and then they slapped them on the wall.
That's definitely what it felt like.
Yeah, so the queue was minimal, and there wasn't even. There could have been more TVs even.
And there was just a couple of TVs, yeah, playing a pre-show video.
But there was a pre-show video, so that's good.
I liked it. We got to see it a couple of times because we ended up waiting so long each time. And the plot goes something like Lex Luthor wants to stop the Justice League or kill them or something.
He's trying to say that vigilantes as a whole bad or not good for the city, and since no one's stopping him, he's going to stop him himself. He's going to go and round up all the vigilantes and just imprison them.
But he can't do it by himself, I guess. He needed he needs some help.
Yeah, well, first he gets the help of a robot suit.
Oh yeah,
Which is kind of silly, but
he's got like an Iron Man suit or something where he can fly. And
yeah, he just gets some Iron Man ripoff suit.
But then he gives Joker a call.
Yeah, because everyone knows Joker's number.
And yeah, and Joker is
You look in the phone book right next to Penguin Pizza.
right, Penguin Pizza. Yeah.
Penguin's Pizza. Oh, Joker! Here he is. Joker's Laugh Factory. Call him up.
And he's eager to help out.
He always is.
They actually did capture a couple of the Justice League members. Right? Who do they have? They have like the Flash. They have Green Lantern, and like Supergirl, I think, already captured.
Yeah, it's weird. The pre-show video begins, and at the beginning of the loop, yeah, they already have 2 or 3 of them captured already.
Yeah, I think Batman and Superman are the only ones they haven't captured.
No, they capture another 1 or 2 during the course of the pre-show as it goes on. You never see any of this. It's
No,
all,
I
it's all off
know what you're
camera.
talking about.
It's all off camera, but it's just like every once in a while they come back and, oh, we just captured this one. And then at the very end, Joker says we just captured another one. I think 2 more get captured
okay.
during the course of the video.
I mean, that doesn't matter, though. You never see them, so they might
Yeah.
as well have been captured from the very beginning.
Well, as Thanklin put it for us, so eloquently as he tends to do, it really is Joker League. It really is Joker's ride
Yeah, really.
in every sense. Let's just get that out there right now. This should have been called Joker's Jinx. Really. Just pretty much the entire experience is Joker.
It's mostly him.
And they just make minimal use of a couple other characters. They brought in Superman's main villain in Lex Luthor, and they make a little use of him, and then It couldn't be absent of all heroes, so they do make some appearances, but it's mostly a Joker ride.
Yeah, I'd say on the actual ride portion, Lex Luthor is probably the next, makes the most appearances after Joker.
Yeah. So it's kind of a villain ride. It's really us versus the villain. We're the recruited to save the day. And as far as the pre-show goes for this ride, it is very fun.
Yeah, Joker's good as always.
Yeah, it's a lot of good Joker stuff in there. Graphics are a little lame. It looks a little like cutscenes from like a late 90s computer game at times. But if you allow yourself to get into it, the content's really is there. Bring your canister of laughing gas. Take a sniff right now.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
Yeah. So put it away.
Yeah, he shoves him off.
Put that away, Joker. You want to kill us all?
Yeah. So we're there because we're like the backup for the Justice League.
Yes.
Just regular citizens, I guess.
Yes.
And the other member of the Justice League that is our
guide.
Yeah. He's our guide into the world of the Justice League, and that's Cyborg. And so he's in the command center. He can see what's going on in the city, and he's telling you about the ride vehicle, and you're going to need to wear these special glasses. I think they were like supposed to be night vision glasses. I think that's their excuse for the 3D glasses in this one. Yeah,
night vision, and they also mentioned that it'll also help protect your eyes against debris.
Okay.
And they make that line too in there.
And they tell you how the guns work and all this stuff. And then they actually built a full-scale animatronic of Cyborg, and he's right in the station. You see him right before you board the ride, and you get right up close to him, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's a very good animatronic. I know the first thing we thought was that guy should have been out in one of the rooms, one of the queue rooms.
He should have been, yeah.
Not you see it right before you're going to board, just because it would have been more entertaining, and you could have watched it and been distracted more earlier in the line.
Yeah, they should have built the queue around that guy, and
it's that guy and also a giant screen.
Right, it's the whole command center
at that point. Yeah,
that really should have been the main queue room, and then where you actually board the ride vehicle should have just been like
just an offshoot to that room.
Right, just the alley or whatever it is.
Yeah, so you wait in these bare bone sheetrock rooms, and then you actually are impressed a little bit later on.
Yeah, but that's typical Six Flags.
Yeah, and I don't even know that it was totally just that they weren't thinking. I also feel they may have done that on purpose because they may have an inkling that they can't quite trust their typical park clientele to not destroy things over time, and they may have wanted that really expensive, impressive stuff all in one area where the employees are at all times, that they could watch it. But at least the giant screen should have been out in the first room. Some of that needs a little tweaking, but that command center is really good. A couple of things we were nitpicking just being there, like the projector that's clearly playing the pre-show video for the giant screen is in plain sight. They forgot to hide it. And the speakers that are playing the audio from the animatronic are in plain sight. They forgot to hide those. Yeah. So a couple little things that are just kind of, it's like Six Flags. It's almost like they did those things on purpose. Because that's the Six Flags touch, after all.
Yeah.
But very minimal things, and really, I know by the second and third time I was doing it, I wasn't really looking for those things, and it didn't bother me. The whole boarding procedure was pretty good. They did the best they could to try to make an omni-mover out of it, where the vehicles don't come to a total stop. And the crew was doing as good a job, I think, as they could to try to move people along quickly. Yeah, they hand you your glasses, and they kind of get you going pretty quick. So, yeah, that was all very good.
Yeah, so the vehicles are similar to Spider-Man Transformers vehicles, except they have guns.
Yeah, they do.
They give you guns in this one. And this ride, I was very surprised to find out, is essentially a Spider-Man ripoff, except with shooting. I did not expect that. I thought the cars were not really going to move. I thought it was going to rely pretty much entirely on the shooting aspect, but that's not what they did. They actually had those ride cars moving around and synced up to the action that was on the screens.
And some not on the screens.
And
some practical effects as well.
And that blew me away. The couple of non-screen rooms, they actually put the effort in to do that.
It is a more or less full range motion vehicle on a track. This is one of those. The ride takes off, and it's just like, holy shit, they did it.
Yeah, I know you said that about Dark Castle, and, and this was the same thing. As soon as the thing started to move around, holy shit, they did it.
Yeah.
I mean, hats off to Sally that they figured it out, and they did a very good job.
It took them a while, but they finally did it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very exciting. It keeps moving. It's fast-paced.
It's not too many screens. It's a good balance between screens and other things happening.
Yeah, there's a Joker animatronic in there.
They even did fire.
They did do fire, yeah.
They did it. They did the fire. Even Transformers didn't do fire, right?
I don't remember
I
them
want to say
doing
no.
fire on that. Well, Transformers was just nothing but screens.
Even Dark Castle didn't do fire. Only Spider-Man. And now this.
Oh, yeah.
There's some great near-miss gags. Stunts. I guess more like stunts, really. But it's really good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not, Spider-Man is still the best, but this is very good, though.
Yeah, the one aspect of it, though, that doesn't really need to be there is the shooting.
Ironically enough, what was, I guess, in terms of never-before-seen element, what was the most innovative for this particular ride was also the most inconsequential. Or you could even go so far as to say it was a detractor from the overall ride experience. And that was the interactive shooting. Again, as far as Sally goes, they did a really great job. They figured it out.
Yeah, because you're actually shooting at the screen, like a screen that you have in Spider-Man or Dark Castle or Transformers. You're actually shooting at that screen. You're not shooting at little bullseye targets that you see in like the Ghost Blasters and all those types of rides.
You're interacting with those screens. So there's like a set story that those screens are going to tell, but yet they figured out within that you could still interact and you could shoot, and you see every gun in the car is color coded, and you see it's kind of like a laser, I guess, for what we're shooting.
Yeah, right? It's like a laser gun.
You see like the laser, your color laser will actually appear on the screen, and then you see if it makes contact or not, and then it knows if you made contact with one of the bad guys or not. Really advanced stuff, especially considering this. But the overall thing is still moving and taking you for basically a simulated ride, while you're shooting.
Yeah, this was kind of a cross between Spider-Man and Midway Mania. But even with Midway Mania, those cars stop and remain stationary while you're actually shooting.
Yeah, that feels in every way like you're playing a video game.
Yeah,
because in front of each scene, you're standing still, and the video game screen is standing still, and you're just whatever. You're tossing fake rings, or you're. But in this, it's like you're just really interacting with pre-existing action. It's really pretty great. It's awesome they figured it out. It's just that this ride concept doesn't really need it. It stands on its own. The SimPod on a track ride concept is awesome, or Dark Ride Adventure, whatever you want to call it, and you don't need to be distracted with shooting.
No, you really don't need it.
So it really is a distraction, and I never really gave it my all any one ride through.
Yeah, it was like the first ride through I did. I was shooting, but it was totally half-hearted because I was trying to pay attention to what was going on the screens and the sets that they had built and everything.
Yeah, and then the second time we both said to each other, you know what, we're just going to leave the guns in the holsters.
Yeah, I didn't even pick it up.
Right, and we did. And we just wrote it for what it is. And it was great.
And and it's better if you don't shoot.
It really is. At least for us.
And it's funny because
we're a couple old men, I guess, but
well, even the Scooby-Doo swamp ride that was there before that, it was funny, it was the same thing. where the first time we went through that, we were shooting, but we realized, oh, this is really awesome. This is really impressive. And we rode it the second time and didn't shoot at all.
Yeah.
Because it just worked as a dark ride. And this is the same thing. It just works, for the most part, even if you don't shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Another piece of technology on this ride that was very impressive was they figured out how to shoot like a projection, not a screen, but an image that's being projected. I don't even know what it was projected on.
I think it was fog.
It was just fog,
Like
yeah.
a fog projection.
And they figured out how you can actually shoot that with the gun, like a target on there.
That was very impressive.
That blew me away.
Yes. Like some of the robots, to make it look like they're really there in the room with you, flying in the air, they're projected on just fog. So it's not a screen against the wall. It's just you're constantly moving forward and through this, and then they're just out there flying and on the fog, and you can make contact with them and shoot them and get points. That was really cool.
Yeah, it's a great ride.
Yeah, it is great. I mean, I understand why they do the shooting, and I think for the younger kids out there, they'll definitely get a bigger kick out of it because it has the shooting.
Yeah, I think so.
And it'll give this ride more longevity and more re-rideability for the younger generation, which is good. So I can't argue with it, with them doing it. And there's still a great ride in there without it, so it kind of works on both levels, I guess.
Yeah.
Because for us, we could just leave the gun in the holster and have a great time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can have their shooting. And so I guess it's the best of both worlds. Because they didn't just do it nothing but a line of screens.
No.
Where if you don't shoot, you're bored. It's the full Spider-Man experience with scenes and stunts and things as well. A couple odd transitions with the pod programming.
There were.
One in particular was like really noticeable. They could easily be fixed though.
Yeah.
And they might. I remember Dark Castle was like that.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
we wrote it in the first season, and there was a couple of odd things, and then when we went back and wrote it a couple years later, they were corrected. We'll see how that works between Six Flags and Sally, but they could easily fix that.
And I think that the people were enjoying it too.
Oh yeah, that was the
From
thing.
what we could tell.
We saw a lot of that. Well, the last ride we did was what turned out to be the last ride of the night. This was telling, and we were. This didn't get past us in the moment. We actually chose to end on this ride, which, as far as we could remember, is a first in a Six Flags park. We've never intentionally chosen to end our day in any Six Flags park across the country on a non-roller coaster attraction. It's never happened.
Yeah, it did not want to end on American Thunder.
It would have been between American Thunder or, I guess, Freeze.
Or Freeze. Yeah, it didn't want to end on either one of those.
Reverse Blast. Probably the two best. And no, we wanted to end on Justice League.
Yeah.
So that's really telling how much we were enjoying it. And so did a lot of people, apparently, because the queue was still full.
Yeah.
The shitter was still full, folks.
Yeah, we were hoping to not have to wait the whole thing again for a third time, but
That didn't happen that way. Even at the very end of the night. Because we got on, it was about 5 minutes to closing.
yeah, we just got it.
9:55 on a 10 o'clock closing.
There were only 2 people behind us, and then they closed the line.
And then the security guard that actually gets on the line and waits the whole thing out. I guess that's the best way to do it. Best way to secure it. Make sure no one else jumps on the line is security guard waited the line. But we got on the last car. So literally the last car with guests in it that ran for that day. We were on it. But then when it ended, we can be pretty silly. Truzer and I can be kind of silly in parks, just like we are here. We'll do things like applaud.
Yeah.
Which is technically not necessary. It's not a live show with live actors on a stage or anything, but we'll do that because it's fun. We like something a lot, and we even though it's the third time, we would applaud. And then the kid next to me did it. He got into it. And he was like, "Yeah, it was really good." And he clapped a couple times. It's like, I heard him say, he was really blown away by the fire. He was like, "Yeah, it was fire," and everything. He was really into it. And then the when we saw the security guard who was waiting at the end of the ride, which actually at the photo where you could buy, they take your photo on it. On
Oh, yeah,
Justice
they do.
League, we did mention that. About halfway through the ride, they do, and then when they have the place you could buy the photo, and she was out there waiting, and that's when we talked to her for a minute, and she was saying how I'm not a ride person, but like I love this ride. This just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And she said how like I want to ride this like 5 million more times or something.
Yeah,
know?
she couldn't say enough good things about the ride. She was so into it.
You know, I don't know because I didn't ask these people, but I think it's safe for me to assume that these people probably did not ride Spider-Man, and most likely never even rode Dark Castle. So I have a feeling this is probably the first ride of this type they'd ever been on. The way they were talking, it seemed like it.
To do another one of these types of rides, you'd have to go pretty far from St. Louis. It's pretty far to California or Florida, even Virginia. It's a ways away. So, yeah, I'm sure a lot of the people there haven't seen a ride like this before.
And after hearing some of that stuff, I was starting to think that maybe there was a little more of a strategy that went into Six Flags' decision to put the installation of this ride in where they did, to put it in St. Louis and in over Texas, seeing as how those two parks are about as far as you can get from the California and more importantly the Florida resorts, and that if they were thinking that was I think that was a stroke of brilliance. Like, let's give this ride and this kind of a ride to the people that probably haven't experienced anything like this before.
Yeah, this is kind of funny because on our ride announcement, Joe, when Six Flags announced these rides, we didn't understand why they were giving this ride to these parks.
Yeah, the biggest thing was that they already had dark rides, these two.
But yeah, the fact that there isn't a ride like this anywhere near the Midwest, I hope that went into their decision making.
Or just a coincidence, maybe, I don't know.
But with Six Flags, right, it's like, who the hell knows?
That's the weird thing. You never really can be sure that you know. But I think that could have been part of it. What else came out of this? I know I asked you, what do you think Universal thinks of this?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think Universal thinks? And this is not even so much a question of the fact that Six Flags did this. They really just purchased something. It's really the fact that Sally did this.
Okay.
Because now that they did this is now available to everyone.
Right.
That's the real truth here. The larger picture is this can now be purchased by any park anywhere in the world now.
Right. Yeah,
Spider-Man.
This is different than even Dark Castle because even that was in-house.
Right, because, yeah, that was even just another one-off. But now, yes, now it's just a readily available attraction.
What does Universal think? I don't think they really care. I mean, Spider-Man was 99. That was so long ago for them. They've moved on. They're doing whatever they do with Gringotts. They're doing Arm on a track like Harry Potter. They're looking for the next big thing, and have been for a while. I think they've moved on from. Not that they would never do another Spider-Man Transformers type ride again.
Transformers was pretty recent.
But I think they're looking for the next big thing. Plus, I don't think they care what Six Flags does ever. Really, I think they only care about what Disney does, and they don't really worry about anybody else, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I do think that they would have taken note of it if they hadn't already done Potter, the first Potter ride, really, because that was their next step. It was the robot arm on the track, and so they did that, and they're already. So I think they feel like they're already a step beyond Spider-Man, so that as long as they're still a step above what's going on in regional parks, I think they could be content and feel okay.
But it is, I think, good that this ride system is now widely available to any park that wants it.
Oh yeah, we said it to each other. At this point, every park should have one of these. That was a common theme then with St. Louis's newer additions. Between American Thunder and Justice League, it's like, yeah, every park should have one of these. Every park should have a fun little kick-ass GCI, and every park should have a dark ride adventure Spider-Man ripoff.
Sure, yeah.
But I hope to see more themes as we go.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So that's the other question. What's the future for Six Flags and these rides? Because this is one of those. There's what I'd like to see, and then there's what I think I'm going to see, and they don't really match up. Because what I'd like to see is this ride in every one of their parks ultimately over the next bunch of years, but maybe a little different each time. Just don't make a cookie cutter and plop that same thing down everywhere. But I pretty much know I'm not going to get that.
I mean, of course it's possible. I doubt it. They'll probably just do the same.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. No, I think it'll just be this exact same ride that'll be put in, however many more times they do it.
I think they'll probably only put this in 2, maybe 3 more parks. That'll probably be the end of it.
Yeah,
because they just tend to do that. They don't put the same ride in every park. It's just not their style.
What's his name? Reed Anderson, the current president and CEO of Six Flags.
James W.P. Reed Anderson.
Oh, gee, it's a lot of names there. So if James W.P. Reed Anderson is listening, I hope you just call it Joker League. Put Joker League Battle for Metropolis into Six Flags Great Adventure. One other ride, we did all the coasters. One oldie but a goodie they have there, opening year attraction for this park, is the River King Mine Train. Originally, 2 completely separate mine trains put next to each other. 2 mirror image mine trains. One of those tracks was removed off-site, sold years ago, actually operated at Dollywood. For many years, it was their mine train, and then was sold again and moved again, where it's currently running as Big Bad John in Magic Springs, Arkansas, which we got to do, actually, last year. But why am I bringing up this ride at all? It's an older Arrow mine train. I love Arrow, and I love mine train. I love everything pretty much Arrow ever did. This was another case we hit a daytime ride, and then at the end of the night, a nighttime ride. And the daytime ride was just, it was okay, but it wasn't the best. This mine train suffers from the trains being a little too small.
That is very strange. That for some reason, a couple of these Arrow mine trains, the trains are a little too small.
Yeah, it's like, in weird ways. It's like the seat is only like 6 inches off the floor of the mine train, or of the actual coaster train. So you're almost sitting on the floor. You get in this thing, and it's like you're kind of crouched down. Your knees are kind of a little higher than they should be in front of you.
Yeah, this one, Carowinds, is smaller.
That's definitely one of the like that, yeah.
And Great Adventures?
Great Adventure is like, it's got a train that I've never seen on any other one.
Okay.
It's like only, they're smaller though too, but again in a different way. Like yet another different way. Like not that same weird you're sitting on the floor thing.
That's totally bizarre that
there's a bunch of different.
It would be different every time they did it.
It almost is, yeah. There's quite a few different style of trains for all of the Arrow mine trains out there. I guess they kept tweaking it every time.
That's
almost.
So weird.
Yeah, it is weird. They're not very consistent with that. So it suffers from that. It's the layout is like okay, but it's segmented. There's 3 lefts. The finale is cool, where you drop into a tunnel, but it was really interesting. The night ride was definitely better. We both really enjoyed it. And then the really interesting thing, and the really reason why I'm bringing this up now, is because while we were riding it, we both thought this independently, and then we talked about it. It really felt like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Well, yeah, the nighttime ride was really so good because it's like almost pitch black.
It's very dark in the area, yeah.
You're like in the middle of the park, but it's still like wooded, and they don't really have any lights out there.
And in that darkness, because we couldn't see anything, we really were just really experiencing the ride. And it was weird because it felt, because of the 3 lifts and the parts, it felt very like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Yeah, it wasn't just the 3 sections. It just kind of felt like that layout.
It really had us thinking, really.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
could this really be like the same or at least similar?
Yeah, I looked it up. I tried to figure it out as best I could, and they're not the same at all. Well, not not at all, but the first section is actually kind of similar. I think it starts off like out of the station like exactly the same way, but the second and especially third sections are different. We were thinking whenever Tony Baxter and the other people who were working on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, they must have, I would have assumed that they traveled around the country and rode all these Arrow mine trains.
All the existing ones at that point.
And and sort of took the pieces from the ones they liked best or thought would work best for them, I guess. And it seemed like they liked this one a lot and seemed to copy it.
Yeah, River King Mine Train has a little stronger finish, but they still kind of took that as a template and used that to get the feel for it. It's possible. We don't know for sure, but it's very possible.
What else about Six Flags St. Louis?
How about that? The Joker Inc.
Oh, that's a funny little ride. Funny little pirate ship.
They rethemed their pirate ship to the Joker.
Yeah, they must have been on Joker's gas or something when they came up with that ride concept.
They turned they put a giant Joker head in front of the A-frame of the pirate ship that you actually enter through the mouth to get on the boat, and then the boat became his laughter. Like you're writing like the physical form of his laughter. It's like the ha 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 ha's from the comic book that would be coming out of his mouth.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool because it really does kind of work when you put it all together. But it is such an out there idea.
Oh yeah,
I love it though.
And the name is weird.
And then it's the Joker Inc.
Why is it called that?
I have no idea. I don't know why it's not called the Joker's Laugh.
Yeah, there's something with laugh in it. I don't get that.
Joker's Laugh or
Joker's Last Laugh.
Yeah, something like
the Joker Inc. though.
It's not Jokers. It's the Joker Inc. Singular. It's just the Joker Incorporated.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the name is silly. The other major flat ride we did there was Excalibur. A ride that I know well. It used to be in Six Flags Great Adventure. I had ridden it once there, but it's a ride that they moved to St. Louis many years ago. They gave it a total theme package. It's pretty impressive. Made it look like a giant, I guess, catapult or something. Because they made they put like four giant wooden wheels on the four posts of the main footers of the ride, so it looks like the whole thing could be wheeled.
Well, it's in the what is that? Like the old
Britannia.
English section? Yeah,
it's Britannia.
Yeah,
it's the old.
So it's
old
like
section.
Yeah, so they call it Excalibur, like
the sword
in stone. Yeah,
but yet it's not a sword. If you break it down too much, it falls apart pretty quick. Because the name Excalibur invokes the idea of a sword, but it's not a sword. The look of the ride is sort of like a catapult or some kind of a war machine.
Yeah.
And they actually installed audio on the ride, which is pretty amazing. So it played like old English medieval music.
The way the ride actually moves, it's a little difficult to explain. It's better if you look up a video of this ride on YouTube.
Of an Evolution.
Yeah, that's the ride, the model.
Yeah, it was called Evolution at Great Adventure.
And I don't think it's doing too well.
Yeah, it's seen better days. It doesn't seem like they've maintained it at all.
Right. Like, really, like, at all.
Yeah, it's too bad. We rode it 7 years ago, and it was in great shape. But, yeah, it needs a big rehab. The paint's all faded. The restraints were kind of gnarly. Audio was no longer working. No music playing. And then it needs some grease at least. The whole thing was creaking.
But it was creaking so much, I was very nervous.
Yeah, you got freaked out. I was pulling from my extensive carnival experience. Back a number of years ago, I used to do a lot of carnival rides. And I don't know, I learned how to just kind of tune that stuff out. Just ignore some of the sounds and sensations and just enjoy the ride for what it is. And just know you're going to be safe in the end. But yeah, it occurred to me too that this thing has seen better days, and it's like, wow, it's really doesn't sound great. It's unfortunate. It felt like that ride's going to go away any day now.
Oh yeah.
It had that feel, and I hope that's not the case. I hope they do a major rehab maybe this coming off season. But I don't know. It's 50-50 at best. That ride this may be the last season, or within the next 2 years, maybe. But that's Excalibur. What else was there? Boss? What about that boss?
A CCI Woody, big one, big sucker, and it's terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
It's like, I don't know what else to really say about it. Just a bad layout, bad ride.
It's funny, we weren't sure from 7 years ago,
Yeah.
so we actually were anticipating riding this again in sort of a once and for all. We really got to find out, is this really good or not? And yeah, it was just kind of bad.
Yeah. Nah.
There's not much more to say about it. It was just kind of bad.
The layout is kind of bad enough that it's like, I don't even know where to begin. Just scrap the whole thing. And
Yeah, CCI did a lot of that, right? I don't know what they were going for in most of their rides, really.
yeah.
But what I was going to say was, in my experience, though, too, CCI rides age very poorly.
Oh, yes. Yes, they do.
So, considering the fact that Boss has been around now for a while, what are we talking, circa 2000 or so when that went in?
2000.
Yeah, exactly. So, 15 years. So, yeah, if it did have anything, it's probably long gone. And interesting to note that it uses not PTC trains. I think Gerstlauer? That was Gerstlauer?
Yeah, Gerstlauer.
It uses those funky-looking Gerstlauer trains.
Yeah, Raging Wolf Bobs used those. Did Villain use those?
Villain used those.
Villain used those. And Twisted Twins at Kentucky Kingdom used those.
And speaking of Twisted Twins and their trains, we think we may have found them at Six Flags St. Louis in the Gotham City Junkyard, right underneath Batman's station. We saw what we could only identify as the trains from Twisted Twins.
So you know Ed Hart is pissed.
So that was just kind of funny because yeah, we were just kind of like, wait a minute, they took the trains.
Well, I guess they took them because the boss uses those style trains, so
Well, parts.
they can use them for spare parts.
They took them for parts. For that, we'd have to figure. But yeah, that was just funny. We saw that. It's like, oh shit. Mr. Six, you motherfucker. That's what Ed Hart's doing right now. So, what else did you have?
The boomerang coaster they have.
Oh, boomerang. Lost my mind.
Which they got a couple of years ago from... Where'd they get that from?
From Six Flags over Texas.
Oh, that's right. That was theirs. I think that's my new favorite boomerang.
Whoa!
That was the smoothest boomerang I've ever been on. It rode like a dream.
Yeah, I'll agree. It was very smooth. It really, they didn't have to move at all.
No, yeah.
So there you go. Great boomerang. Texas's garbage was a great addition. It was gold for this park in St. Louis. Screaming Eagle, still barely screaming.
Well, this one we could see it's almost kind of something. There's a little something that might be there.
Yeah, it's close to being really fun. Instead, it's just kind of treads the line of fun. The overall experience it's just kind of a waste of time. Not much happens. Rocky Mountain, that bitch. They should just connect the two, right? Just connect those two rides into one giant
Boston
Rocky
Screaming
Mountain
Eagle?
ride. Yeah, Rocky Mountain, both of them at the same time, and connect them both.
Sure.
I mean, now that you have American Thunder, that's your old style wood coaster for the park. So,
Oh, that was yeah.
So you don't need either one of those other rides.
Well, that was funny. Yeah, that was something we noticed was that they first put in Screaming Eagle, they had their Woody, but then I guess late '90s they thought, we want a more thrilling, bigger Woody. And they put in Boss, and they weren't satisfied with that, I guess.
Yeah.
And then 8 years later, put in another Woody.
It's weird. It's only 8 years later. Yeah.
With American Thunder, and I guess they were finally. Somebody said, "All right, enough Woodies."
Yeah.
We tried 3 times.
That
That's
park
it.
really likes wood. Yeah. That's interesting. And we were saying before we ever even rode American Thunder, like, we're gonna find out, like, is it needed in this park, or was third time the charm? Did they get the best one on this third one? But then, yeah, we rode them all again, and yeah, American Thunder is the best.
Ninja?
Hiya!
How about that our Voca ride. Veraro.
An interesting story of two manufacturers working on that ride, Arrow and Vekoma. Apparently Arrow started it, and then it happened right at the time of their first bankruptcy, I think. So they were unable to finish it, and Vekoma had to come in and finish it. We always considered it just an Arrow ride, though. It's an Arrow train, and it really rides like an Arrow.
Yeah, it's all Arrow supports and Arrow track.
Yeah. We remembered it being really, really great. And then this time it was like just all right.
This is not good.
Oh, you would actually go that far?
It's not good.
I still love those kind of rides. So I'll never say it was totally a waste. But
This one hurt too much.
oh, really? Got you too much?
Yeah, it hurt too much.
It was rough, but I still got a little kick out of it. But it's not excellent by any stretch. You like that Final Destination style lift hill chains that take your head off moment?
Oh, that was cool. It hurts when you're going through that maneuver, but that is really freaky.
It's one of the many bad transitions on that ride, right at that moment. But yeah, in what we can only imagine must have been an accident.
Had to have been total accident.
You come while you're on the ride, going at a decent speed, appears to be dangerously close to the lift hill chain return under the lift.
Yeah, they totally did not take that into account. They did not figure that into the design, I think, at all. It was a happy accident that there was enough clearance there.
It's like whatever the primitive DOS computer program that they probably used back in those days. This was like the 80s. Probably didn't have like the lift hill return or anything under the lift besides a few main supports like drawn in or taken into consideration.
Yeah.
And so they probably just designed it through there, and then when it was actually built, they're like, oh, but it just clears, I guess, so it's okay.
But every time,
yeah, I know.
it's so freaky.
It is. It's really weird.
Looks like it's going to take your head right off.
Yeah.
I'll say this. It's way, way better than Ninja at Six Flags Over Georgia, though.
Oh, the one that is totally, truly 100% of Vekoma.
Yeah, so
yes.
it's a Vekoma SLC, but it's like a sit-down version.
Yeah, they made like that
Georgia.
layout just about sit down. And it's, yeah.
And that was one of the roughest things ever. That was so horrendous.
Yes. That ride really will take your head off.
Yeah. And finally, there's Penguin Pizza, the ride. Yeah, look out for that in the freeze queue. Penguin's Pizza.
Outside, though, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Before you get inside. So what about Mr. Freeze? Reverse Blast.
This is same exact ride as the one in Six Flags Over Texas. It's good. It's a good one. As long as you get the right side.
Well, yeah, it was interesting because another case, this happened a lot, didn't it? Where we wrote something the first time and were kind of nonplussed about it, and then wrote it again later, and we're like, oh, wait a minute, no, it is pretty good. Like, yeah. And there's kind of a different reason in each case. In this case, it was, yeah, we boarded on the different side. I guess it was, yeah, it was the right side. Like, from the point of view of when you're sitting on the train.
Yes.
Because your back is to the launch, but it's like it'd be your right side at that point.
Yeah. Just to explain this a little bit, in the Station of Freeze, even though it's
It's a shuttle coaster.
Shuttle coaster, there you go.
With one track.
I'm thinking of the word. Yeah, with one track. They do have a switch track in there with two trains, so that while one side is loading, they can send the other train out, and as soon as that train comes back, the track moves over, it slides over either to the left or to the right, and the other train goes, and it's just, so it's constantly shooting a train out and constantly loading. The system actually really works.
We were both very impressed just watching it.
Yeah, I wouldn't think, even just conceptually, that something like this would really work that well. And especially if you put Six Flags in charge of it, I wouldn't think it would work at all. But they had it down amazingly well. It was a smooth, well-oiled machine.
Very impressive. Easily, hands down, best crew in the park.
Oh, it's got to be.
It was actually 2 different days we were there. 2 different operating days. And yeah, they were best crew in the park. Yeah, they were working their asses off. And for whatever reason, there was no AC in that station. Must have broke.
Oh, it was so hot in
so
there.
it was literally a sauna in there.
Yeah.
It was hot and steamy and like humid. It was kind of nasty, actually.
It's pretty fun. Yeah, ironically, the Mr. Freeze ride had the hottest station.
Yeah. It's supposed to be cool, but yeah, obviously it broke.
So anyway, you can decide which side to load on, the right side or the left side. Choose thy fate in the queue. And we found out that the right side gives a better launch, works a little better.
Well, that was the thing. The first ride we had, we were boarded on the left side, and the launch seemed to lack a little something, seemed to be a little sluggish, and which was something that we did not experience in over Texas last summer. And it was a little disappointing, or more than a little disappointing, that happened. And then when we did ride it again on the other side, it didn't have that. And it kind of makes sense because each side has its own set of at least initial limbs. The limbs that start the launch, the first ones it makes contact with in the station, are different, are independent of each side of wherever you board. So I guess it really could be that the limbs on the one side, the right side, are working better for whatever reason. After that, then the limbs subsequent throughout the rest of the launch, obviously the same, no matter where you board from. But that initial blast, reverse blast, is a little better on that one side. And at that point, it was just a kick-ass ride. Wow,
Yeah.
that top hat, it's just amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it was great to experience that again because I really loved Chiller when it was at Great Adventure, particularly the Batman side, which had that top hat element. And it's great to get the feeling of that launch again, because I think Chiller was, it still remains, I think, my favorite launch of all time. It was just the perfect speed, is the perfect punch, and it was perfect everything. So cool to get that feeling again.
I also noticed for the first time ever that there is a Mr. Freeze in the station. He's actually up there. He's like way up there, really high.
Yeah.
Almost on the ceiling. But he is standing there, I guess, in what's supposed to be some kind of control booth.
That's what it looks
Like he's
like.
operating whatever this torture device that this coaster is supposed to be, I guess. Shooting out
Whatever
of
the hell this thing is.
shooting out of the ice cream factory. Yeah. So that's interesting. There is a Mr. Freeze statue. It's just in total darkness. Don't draw any attention to it. No lights on it. Again, there may have been at one point, but that was just kind of funny. So, great ride. The backwards launch is kind of cool. Although, now that I've done the reverse blast 2 years in a row, both over Texas and St. Louis, I kind of want to ride it forward again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to experience that launch forward again
Yeah, that would be cool.
in the closest thing to Chiller we could still get.
Or, yeah, it's funny with the freeze thing because they could have left one train forward. They could have had both.
Yeah, it does have two trains. Once again, Mr. Reed Anderson, if you're listening, there you go. It's going to solve all the problems. Wow, we ended up talking this park into the ground. I didn't think this was going to happen.
All right, final thoughts on Six Flags St. Louis?
Watch out for the geese in the parking lot. They're vicious. Six Flags St. Louis. It's a fine day. I'll say this, at least from our personal experience, the last time we were there, both American Thunder and Justice League, great additions.
Yeah.
Really helped the day. Without
Yes,
those
it
two
did.
things, ugh. I mean, even the swamp gas was all right, but it was very good Scooby-Doo. I know we both said it was our favorite of all those, but Justice League is better.
I agree.
And is more of an anchor ride for a park. And then American Thunder is a nice addition, so the park works a lot better with those two. It still needs something, whether it be a Rocky Mountain eventually, or a Steel Hyper, I would say.
Yeah, they don't have one of those, yeah.
One of those two is what it needs next.
So what's your favorite ride in the park?
Justice League.
So latest is the greatest.
The one we picked for last, sure. I don't know if it will hold up, though, as like on a return visit, now that I've seen Justice League. It's going to be tough. Otherwise, I guess Freeze is still the best
Yeah, I agree.
on both counts.
Yeah. Best coasters there are Freeze and American Thunder. I mean, Batman the Ride is still good. We didn't mention that.
We didn't.
But they do have a Batman the Ride there. Mirror
Yeah.
image Batman the Ride.
Yeah, mirror image from the usual.
But but Justice League is a big boost for this park. Yeah, it's a good point about you don't know how well Justice League will hold up over the years. Not just from lack of maintenance, but also from what other parks do. Really from whatever Universal and Disney end up doing. That could be even more, mind-blowing, whatever concepts they come up with.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, to elaborate on what I said. Yeah, I was, that's what I kind of meant. Yeah.
Six Flags St. Louis is not the best Six Flags park. It's not the worst. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. It's definitely interesting, especially if you're into the history of Six Flags and you go into it with the knowledge that this is one of the original Six Flags built parks. That adds a little something to your day.
Yeah, this was now our second visit, so we didn't have that this time so much. Although, having seen all of them now, really just over Texas is the only one you really have to go to on that level. I think it turns out, if you care anyway, leave yourself a little extra time to just explore on that historical level, that one. Georgia and St. Louis, if you're really, really into it, like we are, it's cool, but those are not as essential. We mentioned Excalibur had seen better days. It was really kind of like the whole park had seen better days. It was pretty fresh. The whole thing looked pretty fresh and well maintained from what I remember 7 years ago. And it really felt like in those 7 years, maintenance really slipped because a lot of that park needs rehabilitation. It's a lot of faded paint, a lot of peeling paint, a lot of just holes in facades, and just a lot of work needed. It's like they really, I don't know, where the maintenance budget has been slashed or something. The park needs a little work, needs a little TLC.
Yeah, the place does look pretty tired.
That was kind of sad to see.
Yeah, it was.
So, Six Flags St. Louis.
It's all right.
Just all right. It's like Taco Bell. It's all right.
Thanks for riding.
Oh, elbow. Cool. All right, it's the Hokey Pokey at Six Flags St. Louis. Thanks for riding.